Good morning. Lesson for me at least, don't be so dismissive of the Europa Conference League. If the market has liquidity and if the in-play stats and the pre-match odds are accurate, then those are our angles in. Let's have a look at some of the matches I picked out myself yesterday. So we'll work our way through. This was disappointing, Cluj and Pax, but what I did say, and I made it implicit on Telegram, was not to lay that draw straight away, second half. When you're looking at taking on these draws, of course, you need to build up the evidence for taking on that draw second half. We don't have evidence in the head-to-heads. We don't have evidence in recent Europa League form. So we're having to rely on the in-play stats, and they just didn't turn up for Cluj, who were the dominant force in this match by a country mile. But for all of this huffing and puffing, if in the space of 90 minutes all you can muster is 2 shots on target each, then I'm not going to be laying that draw, okay? So you must be flexible. If you have a 0-0 at half-time, and I say the Champions League record suggests we take on these 0-0s at half-time, you've got to treat it on a case-by-case basis. Not every team will have got 2 shots on target only throughout the whole of the match. So in-play stats are an implicit part of football trading. They act as a confirmation tool, but they also act to ensure you don't waste money looking for outcomes where the statistics are saying it's unlikely to occur. What I did recommend for this Cluj match was to lay at odds of 1.09 and 1.06. So I've got a special technique to do that, where the profit is about 53 quid and the liability about 4 quid. Now, if you want to reduce liability even further, reduce that to 2 quid and a profit of 25. Probably a good idea, because if you're playing so late, you've got a limited amount of time for them to conjure up a goal. But we've seen in these early qualifiers, particularly the Champions League, these 0-0s are worth taking on. This was bitterly disappointing. Levski Sofia again, but I did warn you, 2.45 the favourite pre-match suggests any scoreline. But this is all about a side who are coaxing us in with their in-play stats, particularly in the first half. We had a whole load of 5s in the first half from Levski Sofia. 5 shots on, 5 shots off, 5 corners, which we should have seen here. At least that's what my in-play stats feed said. 5 shots on, 5 shots off, 5 corners. So 5 shots off there, 2 block shots. So 5-5-5 for the first half. But we need to make sure that that continues into the second half. Did it? No, it didn't, did it? 2 shots on target for them. Hapoel Beersheva just didn't turn up yesterday at all. It could be the fact that given the situation in the Middle East, they might not be able to field a full 11. They might, for example, have some players who are conscripted into the army. You never know. But all hail to the Ale are pretty solid themselves in Israel, and they do have an upcoming Israeli Super Cup match at the weekend as well. That might have been playing on their mind. So this 0-0, based on the first half stats, certainly you'd be looking to lay. Now, how do you avoid being caught out if you're laying the draw second half and it ends 0-0? I did give you a hint at this in yesterday's video. If it's 0-0 at half-time, let's see if we can get that scoreline up. If it's 0-0 at half-time and the in-play stats, well, for the first half were excellent, really. That was 5 shots on target, because you include the 2 block shots, 5 shots and 5 corners. Really good stuff. But if you're just a little bit worried that it's one-way traffic, when you're playing neutrally, the idea of playing neutrally, i.e. laying an event where both teams are involved, you could do with both of these teams putting in a decent effort. It's one-way traffic. So you've got 2 options if it's not going your way. The first option, lay over 1.5 goals at half-time. lay over 0.5 goals at half time, effectively backing the 0-0. You back the 0-0 to win the amount that you want to use as a liability to lay the draw. This is exactly what you don't want to see at all. The best team of the two getting red carded, and then suddenly, because of the match, they're in post 70th minute, they're in no lose territory, are they? They're in must not lose territory rather than must win territory. So that knocked the stuffing out of any 0-0 as well. So it's a good idea. Have a think about this insurance. If you get an early goal, all you're going to be losing is about £4, rather than losing 40, which is my standard stake as liability on a lay the draw at the beginning of the second half. Another option, have an exit point. If you've laid the draw second half and it's just not going your way, have an exit point. The exit point for me is 1/3 of my liability as a loss. So if I've laid the draw for a £40 liability at half time, I'm effectively buying myself between when I've laid the draw and when I see a £13 red, which is 1/3 of my liability. When I see the £13 red, normally it will get you to about the 70th minute or thereabouts. You'll see that red hit 2/3 of liability or 1/3 of liability, and then you get out. You've got 2/3 of your liability back in your account. So we do have ways of covering this 0-0 if we want to get involved in laying the draw second half. But one lesson to learn is not to automatically assume that we lay the draw second half with a 0-0 at half time if the shot stats are not occurring. We've seen that in 2 of those 0-0s yesterday. And they can be managed if the goal doesn't arrive. So do remember that. So it's a real pity that, because I think we should have got a goal from Levski, at least with 11v11. Again, short odds, normally indicative of goals, 1.18, 3-0, 3-1, any other home score, boom. Goals before half-time as well, exactly what you expect. Good wins for Hacken and Legia Warsaw. Not quite what the market expected there either, but was it a 0-0 at half-time? This would have been a more confident play. No, they got through in the first half. Looking at the Conference League, which was a more tradable league yesterday. It had readability. And in leagues like this, again, the neutral plays are the attractive plays. This was an absolute standout. Torpedo Katesi against Ordubasi. 3-3 coming up to the final whistle. Now, when you see a 3-3 scoreline, it's obvious, isn't it? They're both seeking the win. Well matched, both scoring, both conceding, both looking for the win. That's where laying the draw very, very late comes in. Let's have a look at the timing of that last goal. I did tell you to lay late, preferably 1.09 and 1.06. One of them get captured, you're going to make a very nice return on investment. We still haven't seen that 4-3 goal yet, and it's the 91st minute. There it is, the 94th minute. Simic laying at 1.09, 1.06. This is why we do it. Huge returns. If you get both of them matched, it's a 10-1 return. 94th minute. So look out for that this coming season. Any real absolute humdingers. Goals. I call it a chuckle brother match. From me to you, to me to you. So 1-0 to 1-1, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, 3-2, 3-3, 4-3, hopefully. So that was a nice profitable play. Goodness me. It's one of the signs of the apocalypse when St. Patrick's score a goal at home. And indeed, the German philosopher Hegelman was umming and ahhing about this goal from St. Pat's. I wouldn't have trusted them with stolen money, I'm afraid, given their woeful Irish Premier Division record. But scraping a goal against a Lithuanian side is really not a compelling argument for St. Pat's, is it? Red cards, HJK obviously changed the match. Did it come early? Indeed it did. But it came after an initial goal from Runovic. So I'm not sure I would have taken on a Runovic lead here at the moment after the initial goal, just given the competition it is. Pre-match odds 1.95. In-play stats from HJK at the beginning of the second half. Well, we don't have them broken down by time, but you can see yet again it's another match, particularly throughout the match, one-way traffic. Great reaction to the red card, already ahead. That's what you want to see. Wouldn't be taking on that lead there. And I don't know whether I would have not, because I was asleep by then. It was about 2 a.m. for the late kickoffs. It's a difficult one. We know HJK because we play them in Finland, but don't assume that they're going to be a good trading candidate just because they're a familiar name. That is a trap you might fall into. But a poor result for HJK, all down to that red card. Quite simply, the opponent made the extra player work, and that's what we look out for. I think there was a couple of other lay the draws which I got right yesterday. I can't remember which ones, but they came in. All of these names, very difficult to remember which one you got involved in. But we did have one. That was very interesting. I think it was Paid and Magpies. I think all these goals came second half. And look again at the relationship between short odds and goals. 1.14. Yes, a red card helped. 3-0, 3-1, any other home score. Bang. The occasional one doesn't come in. But it's a good standard to use if you trust the market. Let's go to Vardar. 1.14. 3-0, 3-1, any other home score. Now, this is a weird one. 1.13. 3-0, 3-1, any other home score. Well, Santa Coloma from Andorra at odds of 14-1. Bang. How on earth did the market get this so woefully wrong? A 3-0 lead by half time, for goodness sake. Now, if I was up at 8 o'clock, I would be all over this at 3-0 at half time. That is for sure. You're going to get very low entry point for Santa Coloma. Note as well, one of the goals is a penalty. I do look for penalties. I do look for own goals because it's not a deserved goal, quote unquote, deserved goal. It adds a little gloss to the scoreline as well. I would have taken them on at 3-0. Why? Competition, Conference League, very, very low risk. Low liability, lay at 0-3 up. And a low liability, don't forget to back the opponent in case they score the next goal. They didn't though, Colasin. So this is what you're flirting with in the Conference League. The market getting it absolutely, totally and utterly wrong. A 14-1 winner there. So an interesting day yesterday. Again, another one going down, a 1.13 shot. Punic Yerevan. Don't know anything about them at all. Punic Yerevan. The goal came in the 63rd minute. Arguably, if you were up at 8 p.m, keep an eye on in-play stats, particularly second half. And it was all Punic Yerevan. You could have arguably laid over 1.5 goals. Looked for Punic Yerevan +1. You'd have got decent odds as well because it's the middle of the second half. Sit back. If it's break even, if it ends 1-0, you will break even. And if they get the equaliser, you will make the profit. Looked as if that would have been a confident play yesterday. 1-0s are to be embraced because you don't lose money if you're using insurance, which I recommend at footballtradingprofits.com. Insurance. In any occasion you can use insurance, do so. Looking at the Euros yesterday, it was a difficult one to unpack because the Norwegian ladies didn't need to win. But the Norwegian ladies, obviously the best side between them and the Icelandics. So that match could have been anything. The Norwegian ladies could have put out a weaker side. Finland and Switzerland. Whenever there's a draw pervading, whenever one side needs a draw, it's very difficult, isn't it, to lay that draw late on. And the Swiss, you look at the standings, the Swiss only needed a point to distinguish themselves from the Finns. Indeed, that goal was absolutely crucial with goal difference. It's still not over, is it? We don't have an arrow there. So is there another match to come? I wonder. I don't know quite how the matchup. It's not normally four matches, is it? In the first group stage. So I'm not sure what's going on. But I think the Swiss just needed the draw. So laying that late draw, probably not a good idea. Although from a Finn's perspective, all dependent again on the in-play stats. I don't have the experience of these matches. They were on at 8 o'clock and didn't appeal because you're only really up for this match. 0-0 at half time. Certainly you'll have your eye on that one potentially, given the need for a goal and such a tight match. This is a great one, isn't it, for laying over 0.5 goals at half time. Looking at the in-play stats for the first half, you would have been a little underwhelmed. 3 shots on target versus 5 for the Swiss ladies. 1 big chance each. So arguably, you could have taken that 0-0 on second half, given the need for a win for the Finns. They did score first. Laying over 0.5 goals here. Sit on it. Let the clock tick. Let the pilgrim leave the pitch. When are you going to lay that draw? It's very tricky to decide. I tend to look at these key timing markers, 60 minutes. If I can get to 60 minutes, the draw odds are going to get even lower. If we get over the hour mark and it's still a draw, we're going to get even lower odds. Aim for the 70th minute mark. You're going to get even lower odds to lay that draw. When do you get involved? The longer you wait, the lower the odds, the bigger the return if you get that single goal. Bang. And make sure you get out, because you don't want to be done with this, having laid the draw. Don't forget, using this strategy, the worst case scenario, the only way you will lose is if it ends a score draw. But if you're going to use your nous, if these odds are short enough coming to the end, make sure you cash out. So a very interesting scenario with the Swiss ladies yesterday. Talking of ladies, the tennis produced at least a trade in the first match. And that little bit of research, Anisimova beating a world number 7 in her previous match. Sorry, I get that wrong. Belinda Bencic, wasn't it? Beating a world number 7 in a previous match. One of the two. But this is an excellent example, isn't it, of what I would have expected in both matches, to be honest, is a 3-setter. You're very, very deep in the tournament. You've got the 4 best form players of the week. That's a perfect situation. Indeed, laying the first set winner in semi-finals is a good situation, particularly if the first set winner was the favourite, because you're going to get even lower odds. But if the first set winner is the underdog and she's playing the world number 1, you don't need an invitation, do you, to get involved with that one. Swiatek, well, that's just hugely impressive. Laying a set up, you've probably got odds of, I would say, 1.14, 1.15. Very well worth doing, given the semi-final status. There's no also-rans there, are there? Let's have a look at today's tennis to start with, and it's the men's turn. Taylor Fritz against Carlos Alcaraz, and I think both of these players early on in Wimbledon were dropping sets. Taylor Fritz has had 2 consecutive matches early on in the tournament where he took it to a 5-setter, so he does have that battling quality. He is an absolute world-class player, but the odds are hugely dismissive. Certainly in a 5-setter in a Grand Slam this late in the tournament, 1.17 is ridiculously short. Taylor Fritz is no mug. I'm going to lay Alcaraz if Alcaraz leads 0-1. Lay him again if he leads 0-2. Very short odds at the off. Far too dismissive of an excellent Taylor Fritz, who, yes, arguably has been coming off the back of an injury, but he's straight back into the Taylor Fritz we know and love. At least tennis traders do. Yannick Sinner, 1.4 favourite against Novak Djokovic. Take a snapshot of that. That is an extreme, rare event. Novak Djokovic not a favourite. This could be a mighty tussle as well. Certainly taking on an odds-on favourite to have Novak Djokovic in your corner is quite something, isn't it? He has been battling with a stomach bug. That might be the negative for him today. Two excellent matches, full of potential. They're late in the tournament, highly dismissive odds-on favourites against some really solid opponents in Fritz and Djokovic. It's going to be extremely good to watch, I would suggest. Trading outcomes all over the place. 2-0s, 2-1s, possible 5-setters, possible lay of Alcaraz at the off. The only way is up, as Yaz would say, really. Got to be laid, particularly if he wins the first set or takes an early break and has the hint of winning the first set. We can have a look at the head-to-heads for these two. Well, we'd better not, because time is a ticking. So let's have a look at today's football. Italy ladies against Spanish ladies. Again, you've got the inference here, 1.25, that there's going to be goals. 0-3, 1-3, any other away score. If the Italian ladies are anything like their male counterparts, they will be parking the bus. Portugal ladies against Belgian ladies, 1.83 is a little bit hit and miss. Not the strongest odds on the planet for the favourite. But let's have a look at who needs what in this Group B event. Portugal ladies need to win to have a chance at least. But I don't think if it's as you were today, the positive goal difference from the Italian ladies is far too good. Spanish ladies are already through, so do put that into your mind. They are probably the better side, but they don't need to win. Teams who don't need to win very rarely do win. Portugal definitely need to win today. So you'd have a natural bias there. Already the market's suggesting, albeit adrift with Bet365, that Portugal ladies will be the team to be with. A quick look through the Irish Premier Division and First Division. Bohemians and Waterford, both odds-on favourites at home today. Already a good sign for traders. Score draws are Galway's scourge. So if Galway score first, particularly score draws against the top five, if they score first, I think that's our trading angle to lay over 1.5 goals or lay with insurance and back Galway +1, preferable for me. Back Bohemians +1 if Galway are leading, of course. Waterford and Cork City. Cork City newly promoted, therefore have a target on their back. No win in 11 away, so some malaise for Cork City at the moment. That no win in 11 away is a decent enough angle coming into this match, isn't it? Irish First Division, Dundalk, away favourite, odds on against Bray. We might see with Bray yet another 2-1 result against top teams, albeit in defeat. So watch out for a potential competitive 1-goal in it match here today, with Dundalk on seasonal form edging it potentially by a single goal. Lots of 2-1 results for Bray, not necessarily in their favour. Treaty and Co Bramblers, 2.11 the favourite. Not the kind of market I like. Only 2 losses in 13 matches for Co Bramblers, and a Treaty United going through a touch of the old St Pat's, an inability to score, or if they do score, a failure to score that second goal. Potentially costly for them today against the Co Bramblers in such good recent form. That looks a touch of value for Co Bramblers, 2.11 for the away side. We will see whether Treaty return. They did catch my eye earlier on in the season, but the wheels have fallen off. UCD are 1.74 favourite at home to Finn Harps. Well, opponents tend to score first in UCD matches. Only 1 loss in 7 recently. But they've got a Finn Harps in decent nick away from home. Unbeaten away v 5th and lower. And recent clean sheets as well. I think that 1.74 for UCD doesn't look value at all here. It could be a very competitive match this evening. UCD and Finn Harps. Watch out for potential, again, miscalculation by the market for an away side. I've picked 3 or 4 of these at decent odds. Don't forget, you can disagree with the market because, let's be honest, some of these people won't be bothering to do the proper research. Wexford against Athlone. 4 out of 5 defeats at home. Tight head-to-heads. Don't make for an appealing 1.76 home favourite Wexford today. So for me, there are a number of wobbly favourites today, particularly in Irish First Division. It's getting a bit late with the video. I'm sorry, but there was plenty of information to pass on to you, particularly learning about playing the Conference League from a neutral eye. It's my day off today because I'll be working for members of Football Trading Profits at the weekend. Give up my weekend for you. And indeed, a wholesale 7:45 or 8 o'clock kickoff doesn't make any appeal to me on a Friday, on a day off. That's a 2 a.m. start for me, so I don't think I will be pursuing that this evening. If I am up and about, never say never, I will certainly be following the trades for you if I am up and about. Tomorrow, well, we'll be looking into that in tomorrow's video, I think, because we're getting a bit deep into this one. Have a great day. Members of footballtradingprofits.com, probably not going to hear from me today, but I might be around for the Wimbledon matches because they do look very readable. We've got 2 underdogs who are very, very solid foundations, Taylor Fritz and Novak Djokovic. Underdogs you wouldn't mind putting some money on, that's for sure. Have a great day.